Thank you all for joining us, and as more come along. But this is the NGLCC 2015 Matchmakers webinar, and we're very excited for the content that we have for you today. Start with some introductions and agenda of the presentation. So we're going to be hearing from Mo Garza, a Senior Project Manager at My Business Matches. Mo helps us with our third-party matchmaking. My Business Matches, as many of you are already aware and have started building your business profile. But Mo will highlight the portal that you all are in and kind of give you best practices and show you how to best build your business profile for the matchmaking process. And then Joshua Lemke from Bank of America is going to be giving us his perspective on being a corporate partner and the corporate partner side of matchmaking and what he would like to see from LGBTBEs and how you can best prepare for them. And finally, I hope to just give you my resources as the manager of Matchmakers for NGLCC and give you a timeline on what to expect and to kind of prepare you so that you feel best prepared for our Matchmakers at conference. So I'm going to start with the deadlines and important dates that you need to know for the next coming couple. I'll switch it over to Mo and then Joshua, and we'll end with a Q&A. Because I had to mute everyone due to the high response of RSVPs, which is very exciting, if you do have Q&As, please email them over to Santana, who you RSVP'd for the webinar, and he's going to be vetting through those questions, and then we'll get in as many as we can at the end of the webinar. So let's start with some important dates. So NGLCC 2015 Matchmakers will be taking place at our conference in Fort Lauderdale on August 13th. That's that Thursday, and it will be happening all day and run concurrently with our Marketplace Expo, which is really important to know to kind of set your expectations that while Matchmakers are happening, our corporate partners will also have expo booths up at the expo hall where you can go up and meet with any corporate partner that you would like to have those conversations with. So if you do not get matched with exactly the corporation that you're looking to match with, know that the expo is there at the same time for your convenience and for helping those conversations that you want to have. So between now and July 12th, suppliers and buyers are both going into their profile in My Business Matches and building it out. And so that's what we want to focus on right now is getting you in there, into the system, registered for Matchmakers, and really get you best prepared for when Matchmakers open. Matchmakers are going to open on July 13th. This is when your business profile will be matched with what corporate partners go in and put in what they're looking to match with. And then between July 13th and July 30th, suppliers will be requesting meetings with matched buyers, and buyers will go in and confirm their schedules during that time, with final schedules being made available to our suppliers and buyers on July 31st. This is to give you a good amount of time to know who you will be meeting with at this time and prepare in whatever unique ways that is the case. So this is the schedule. This will be made available to you, but I just wanted to give that to you in preparing. So yeah, so let's kick it off with Mo Garza.
Okay, awesome. So let me go ahead and switch it over. Awesome, everybody. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is an effort to hopefully get you guys going and have some successful matchmaker meetings. Y'all are very familiar with the portal, the ngocc.mybusinessmatches.com. So this is where you will be reverting back to going scheduling your meetings and sending and editing your profiles as needed. So now that you've already registered, you're going to go ahead and log in with the email and the password you create at the end of your registration. So let me log in. So once you've logged in, this is going to be your dashboard. This is where you're able to see, just kind of at a glance, the profile, where to edit your meeting makers, your schedules, and things like that. The key thing that we're looking into is we want to make sure your profile is set and has the information that could potentially be really beneficial to the buyers when you're reviewing their profile, when you send meeting requests. Under profile, there is a button that says view my profile. You can always glance at it to kind of see where you're at the moment. And what you see is likely what the buyer sees. So you can go in and, your general information will have your address and location, top 3 clients and details like that. I know some of you may not be comfortable sharing your revenue, but this information is only visible to the buyer. Nobody else will have access to see this. Revenue can sometimes be a key thing when a buyer is making a decision, especially if they have an upcoming contract. I know, for the sake of example, AT&T has a minimum revenue of $2 million a year, especially if you want to build if you're in construction and you want to build an AT&T building for them. That is one of the key requirements. So that is why we ask for revenue. It's not to take it, and we understand it's sensitive, but it's also optional. We just highly encourage you to fill that in. Top 3 clients. Some of the buyers may want to know, who you're doing business with. You could potentially be doing business with a competitor, and it could, for some reason, have some interference, which would justify them perhaps not being the best fit for you as far as meeting. So indicating who you're currently doing business with also shows any past performance that you may be, of the current project that you've been working on. Also, when you registered, there may have been a couple of questions asking you about your capabilities, your strengths, if you're part of any trade association. These questions are just kind of, again, to provide the buyer a better overview of the services you provide. For the government buyers, if you have any federal agencies, the SAMs, that seems to be one of the ones that's very key for them. Also, we have an opportunity for you to enter any past opportunities. Were you a prime contractor at any point? What was the project you worked on? It's essentially you're kind of building like a resume. So this information in the end, again, the buyer can go in, they can review and kind of take a glance and say, okay, hey, I have an opportunity for marketing. So, and this person has this past performance. They've been working with AT&T on national campaigns and all that stuff. This is their revenue. That may end up being a really good fit. We're just trying to give the buyer as much information as possible, so that way when they meet with you on site, they're already well educated and well versed and can potentially already have a project that you guys can connect with. So it kind of gives them a heads up to identify with you in advance. If you want to make these changes to your profile, maybe perhaps when you first registered, you wanted to just get through and just fill out the minimum requirements, you can always go in and edit the profile. Again, not all this information is required, but we highly encourage you guys to fill it out. You can edit your attendees and just any key details that you feel will be really beneficial for your buyers. You can also upload any files. So if you have any brochures, any marketing material that you'd like to share, we can upload those on here as well. PDF format for your brochure, a JPEG or GIF for your logos. And again, this is just all some better feedback to legitimize your company and let the buyer know, okay, this person has their things together. When we open the meeting makers, when Natalie said on July 13th, you'll be able to view your matches. Something new that we're doing differently this year is what we call compatibility scoring. The compatibility scoring is a way to take it a step further and really see how true of a match this buyer is for you. So when you log into your meeting maker and you're under your matches tab, you'll see how many companies match up with you. In addition, if they've listed any opportunities and what your compatibility is. Some of you, not all buyers, realistically, not everyone's going to go and fill in if they have any opportunities. Because some may be going with this kind of a broad range of willing to meet with everyone and just kind of build their database or get to know somebody and see if there's some correlation with your company. But some will take the time and go in and identify because they want to make the most of the time. They want to make the most of your time, and we want to find the best fit. So as an example here, this buyer went in and they indicate a opportunity for U.S. global marketing. So they put a brief description, as far as what the goal is, and then also you see this little percentage here. This percentage indicates how well of a match you are. So obviously the first initial match is done through your NAICS code. So if you enter your 5461 for management consulting, and they enter 5461 for consulting, you're going to match. But this is just taking it a step further. We want to make sure we provide you guys with the best use of your time. So here, the score breakdown, if you hover over the score, it'll tell you what requirements you meet for this buyer and what current contract that may have. So I met their revenue requirement. I also met one of their socioeconomic categories. So if they indicated, they want an LGBT company as well as a small business, they can include that on there to give you maybe perhaps maybe a set aside. So if you identify that, or if you have a partner who falls under those categories, you can team up. So this is to provide you more information in what these contracts have. It also tells you what requirements you do not meet. For example, I didn't meet their 2012 requirement, or their ISO, I don't have the ISO 9001 category certification. So this is just to provide you more background. Now, this does not limit you from meeting with them. Again, this is just to provide you additional information. So when we do open up matching, don't be alarmed if you see no opportunities provided. That just means, again, that these buyers or the buyer did not go in and indicate anything specific. It's not to say that the meeting is not going to be as worthwhile. They just perhaps maybe did not have an opportunity to input it, or, again, they're going just to make further connections and see in person, because sometimes it takes a face-to-face, which is the purpose of these one-on-one. It takes that face-to-face human connection to see where we can connect and see where we can potentially go after contracts together. And going back to the way it was done in the past, we are doing meeting requests again, so you'll be able to log in and identify, what buyers you're interested in meeting with. Right now we have it set at 3, but, God willing, we get a lot more people invited and participating. We'll be able to go in and maximize that and get you guys additional meetings. But if I, for example, want to meet with this buyer who is 63% of a match for me, if that's good enough for me, I will go in and send the meeting request. And, I already sent one earlier. And I can identify, I can identify up to, let me cancel it so I can show you for the sake of example. What? You can identify up to 3 potential meeting times, and you can, just to give them options, so just in case they may have a couple of other meetings going on, but you can identify the first 3 times or whatever times work best for you, and then when they confirm it, you'll be notified, and it will appear under Manage Your Schedule. So when a buyer has confirmed, you'll be able to see it. I believe the date we have to see final schedules was July 30th. I don't remember from the timeline, but you should be able to go in by that time and view your final confirmed meeting, as well as you'll be able to view it on here when you view your schedule at a glance. So you can kind of see the breakdown in it. If right now there is no meeting since it's not confirmed, but when it is confirmed, you'll be able to see it, as well as you'll be able to print your schedule. And then my business managers, myself, or my colleague, whoever attends, will have a copy of your schedule for you on site as well. So that's just kind of what I wanted to show you guys, and really stress the importance of the advantage of inputting your past performance and putting in any details you wish to share. I stress to you that this information is only going to be shared with the buyers, and if you feel it's something that will really, really, create that better match and really provide the buyer with that information they need, please include it. So that's all I have. Any questions for me, or we can wait for the Q&A at the end?
Yeah, I think we'll wait for the Q&A at the end.
Perfect.
But thank you so much for going through that platform. And as many of you know, you've already registered for conference and you got my initial registration email. Each business gets one profile, and you can add users to that profile. So, pick one person from, if you are bringing multiple people, to start building out that profile. And if you want to add access for multiple people at your business, you can then add it. And Mo highlighted that a little earlier. We are also having Mo a day early at conference to help with any questions that you have if you do show up and have questions about your your schedule or your meeting and who's going to be there, which we're really excited to bring her on earlier and give that access to my business matches information as well as me being there. So, yeah, and then we'll get to the Q&A if there's any on the platform. But if it sounds good, I'm going to
if anyone has any questions or needs any support, please let me know. I am here to help you guys. I want to make sure this is as successful as possible for everyone.
Thank you so much, Mo. All right, so now Joshua, do you want to talk a little bit about the corporate experience in Matchmakers and what our LGBTBEs should be doing to prepare for these meetings?
Yep, sure will. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. All right, great. So just first off, I'll just do a quick introduction. So Josh Lemke with Bank of America, Senior Vice President within our Procurement Services organization. And so I manage two different towers of categories within the bank. One is facilities, so that would be anything from hospitality, records management, security, corporate real estate, et cetera, as well as general and administrative. And at the bank, that means corporate events, online, print, travel, a few other miscellaneous items. So I've been working with the NGLCC for several years now, and it's been a great partnership for the bank. So I'm happy to be here with you, Natalie and team. Thanks for asking me. Just want to share with you guys today, everybody on the call, from a sourcing manager's perspective, and I've actually done I've done Matchmakers through WeBank, NMSDC. I did it last year for the first time with NGLCC, so I have done it a number of times. Every company and every sourcing manager probably does it a little bit differently. So, really just take this as, Josh's perspective. This isn't, a Bank of America thing or an official sourcing thing. It's just really the way I do it, how I go into it, what I'm looking for, et cetera. So hopefully you'll find some good pieces of information and hopefully it will be helpful. So some of the things I'll, go through is just, what do I do in advance of a matchmaker meeting? What am I looking for? Once I'm in the meeting, what do I look for? Afterwards, what are some of the follow-up items that happen? What can a firm typically expect out of one of these meetings? And then, maybe just a couple of, mistakes or, you probably shouldn't have done that type scenarios that I've been in. So, going into this, I listed off a couple of things that I source for the bank. That is a small percentage of what, sourcing managers do. I have about 11 people on my team, and across the organization, somewhere around 200 or so. So as you can imagine, I can't walk into that meeting and know absolutely everything that Bank of America is possibly going to be procuring, in the next, 0 to 12 months. So some of the homework that we do is when we're getting ready for these meetings, we have a pipeline tool within the bank, and I'll go in and look to see what are some upcoming RFPs, within my space, and reach out to some of my peers, see if there's any RFPs in particular that are coming up, and in particular if they, have a lack of diversity inclusion vendors to participate, and try to see if there are potential matches. So, Mo, some of the things I'll say will be somewhat repetitive, but Mo's absolutely right. All of those things that she went through, the more information you're willing to share, the more likely I'm going to request a meeting, or the more likely I'll be to accept a meeting. Last year, just because there's not enough time, I couldn't accept every meeting that came in. There's just, not enough slots. So do fill out all of the information that you can. So as I was saying, some of the stuff that we do is figure out what types of RFPs are going to be coming up, and then some of the content that we look for. It sounds like and unfortunately I wasn't able to see the screen. It looks like Bank of America has joined me blocked, so I couldn't see the screen, but I tried to follow along in those words. But the NACE code is definitely important. That's going to be one of, and try to get as specific as you can. That's going to be one of the first things, particularly if I'm looking for a opportunity outside of my space. That match is going to be, probably the most indicative of, oh, hey, I should probably look at this a little bit closer. After that, I would say be as specific as you can on the information. Give detailed information. For example, don't say I do construction project management, right? That could be a whole host of things. Do you specialize on interiors, exteriors, base building, ground up? Do you have more commercial experience? Do you do skyscrapers, administrative buildings, retail locations? Get really specific in what it is that you do. That will be extremely helpful. What industries do you support? Mo mentioned that if you work for a competitor, that may exclude you. In some instances, if you do work for a competitor, that may give you a competitive advantage, particularly within our construction space. If you have experience building retail banking centers or financial centers, as we call them now, that's definitely a leg up on somebody who's never done that. There's a lot of nuances in a financial center, teller lines, bank vaults, the technologies, ATMs, etc. So if you have that type of experience, that would definitely be seen as a plus. So, particularly if you're looking for a meeting with Bank of America or a specific company in a different industry, give that level of detail if you have experience in that industry, because that could be seen as very useful. I would also say, on top of filling out the profile completely, I would make sure you have a robust website. That's one of the first places that a sourcing person is going to go to try to get additional information. So if you have a website that is not professional looking, or does not look complete, or does not have good information, that could be a potential turnoff. We'll go out there and look for if you have any case studies, if you have any examples of projects that you've done where you've solved an issue for another customer or provided some sort of unique solution, if you will. We'll oftentimes look for that type of information on your websites, and I'll every meeting that I accept from the Matchmaker, I'll be going to look at every single website with whom I'm going to be meeting with, just to see what additional information that I can get so that I can be as prepared as possible. The sections around revenue, absolutely important. We don't have any minimum requirements, but if we're looking for a single vendor to clean 8 million square feet of real estate in the southeast region of the United States, and you have 50,000 in revenue, or if you only have 2 employees, then that's going to be a pretty big indicator that you might not be a good fit. Or vice versa, we might have an area where we are looking for a small company, a small business to get into the space. So the inverse would happen. If you're a real large company, then maybe that's not the type of fit that we're looking for a opportunity. Geographic footprint. To my earlier example, what areas of the country, states, cities, regions, if you're international, what areas could you service, depending on, the products or services that you have. So in a nutshell, that's some of the stuff that we look for. Once the meeting is set up, I'd highly encourage you to do, all of those things that I said, do that for the company that you're going to look to talk to. Google, see what's out there, industry knowledge, review past shareholder meetings, did a CEO or a leader in the organization give any indication on where the firm is going? Just see what you can find out. The bank recently announced that we're going to be outsourcing a lot of our corporate real estate, right? So, if you're in the construction side, then you're going to want to ask questions around that. What does that mean if I want to be a vendor within corporate real estate for Bank of America now that you're outsourcing, a lot of that stuff? So those are the types of things and the types of questions that you'll want to be prepared for when you come in. Some of the things we may also ask about is around, depending on your industry, if you have any specific licensing, insurance, particular in construction, if you're bonded, things of that nature, be prepared to have that information. We may not get into that level of detail in a Matchmaker meeting, but in a follow-up meeting, that's something we would definitely want to get into. Or if we did send you some sort of pre-qualification form afterwards, that would be some of the things that we'd be getting into as well. So from the meeting, what can you expect, right? I've been to a lot of these meetings, and most of the times it turns conversation. We can provide a lot of insight. It doesn't always turn into an opportunity or a contract. Oftentimes it will turn into me connecting you to the right person in the bank, whether the right sourcing person or somebody within the business. So those are the things that I try to do. And if there's not an opportunity or not a realistic opportunity, at least myself, I'll be upfront with you. I won't try to, falsely lead you to think that there's something that there's not going to be. And I would definitely ask for that type of, forthrightness that you tell anybody else that you speak to. You guys have a lot of stuff to do, and chasing a false lead is not a good use of anybody's time. One thing, I don't know if you'd want to call it a mistake, but one of the things that just drives me nuts when I hear it, if I've sat in many of these and they're like, oh, well, do whatever you want. I'm like, oh, well, what do you guys do around this? Whatever you want. That's not a good answer. Don't say you'll do, you can do anything, you can do everything, whatever, my needs are, my expectations are, you can meet them because, one is just not realistic. And really just want to have, a good conversation with the firms that we're with, have a good understanding of what their core competencies are. So what are you really good at? What can you focus on? What sort of value can you bring to my organization? And we go from there. I think that is about all that I had to cover, Natalie. So I will turn it back over to you. And if there's an opportunity to ask questions, I'm happy to answer any.
All right. Thank you so much. That was amazing detail. I think it gives great perspective of what you are coming into these meetings with and how businesses should start preparing what information they should have available once those meetings take place. I do have some questions. Let me get over. Just to remind everyone, if you do have a question, email Fontana. He's been compiling these questions, and hopefully we can get a lot of them. But the first one is for Mo. Mo, if you could just quickly highlight how our business owners can access My Business Matches app, whether it's what type of platforms it can be accessible. I know one of my business owners tried to use an iPad to find it and was having trouble, so just if you could give us pointers on that.
Sure. It's actually not a downloadable app. It's a web app. Just because a couple of folks, we noticed in the past, people weren't too keen on downloading it. So if you go to mbmapp.com on your web browser, so on your iPhone, on Safari, or on Google, if you have a Droid, or just any web browser that you're using on your phone, mbmapp.com will give you a shortcut to access the mobile app, the web app, and there you'll be able to, the day of the event, you'll be able to check yourself in, do your schedule. If any changes get done to your schedule, you'll see them in real time. And you'll also be able to give a little bit of feedback. We do ask you to rate your meeting, on a scale from 1 to 5. So that's what you'll have access to when you utilize the app.
Okay, perfect. And can you confirm just really quickly what My Business Matches website is? It's mybusinessmatches.com, correct?
Correct. Our main website, with all the other events that we have going on and core access to the portal, is mybusinessmatches.com. For this event, we are using NGLCC.mybusinessmatches.com.
Okay, perfect. And that's in the email that I sent you all in your initial registration email for Matchmakers. Feel free to reach out to me if you need any clarification on these steps, or if you're having trouble registering through that platform. It's distinct from NGLCC and distinct from NGLCC, but it is broken down in that initial email, and I can forward that information along. So I have a question for Joshua. In the individual matchmaker meetings, should company reps who have more than one attending the conference attend together, or is it better to divide and conquer the conference?
Yeah, I would say if you have my opinion is divide and conquer. If you have an opportunity to, connect with more, I think that's probably better. Just my thoughts, but if you both have different roles or different experiences or expertise, it may be better to go together so that the corporate partner can get the best view of what your company has to offer. So it is the best answer, but you could probably go either way.
Yeah, and I definitely will second that because at the same time we have our Marketplace Expo where there's some really great relationship building to be had there. So if it adds to your dynamic as a team to bring multiple people to that meeting to play off on each other, you know your business best, but at the same time you can have someone else from your business go up to the expo and meet with corporate partners on that level as well. So someone has a question in regards to the description on the profile page for their My Business Matches profile. Do you recommend that they copy and paste their About Us, or should they get something more specific and highlight the uniqueness of their company?
I personally, I always say, put something that clearly identifies what services that you provide. NAICS codes can sometimes be a little bit vague. Or very broad, so they'll have like the IT services one, but they do specifically for web apps because there's no specific NAICS code for that one just yet. So maybe put something on there and somehow tie it in maybe with your mission statement, just something that clearly identifies why they want to do business with you.
Perfect. Joshua, do you have any opinions?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, I think I said it, and I think Mo mentioned in a previous presentation as well. I mean, the more specific you can be, the better. We're going to be looking for, at this point for these matchmakers, we're probably coming for very specific projects. So, like I said, don't say project management or I do marketing, right? Well, that's, so broad that doesn't really tell me anything. And so if there's, 3 other people that are also doing marketing, but one says something very specific that clicks in my head with what I'm looking for, I'm probably going to accept that person's request for an invitation over somebody who just does marketing.
That's great. So to follow up on that, so if there isn't a current opportunity between a buyer and supplier, what is the best way you recommend that they reach out or stay in touch and get their business on your radar?
Yeah, so what I typically do is I will connect them with somebody within the business, right? So, and every organization is set up a little bit differently. So I would do it at Bank of America. But if you do something with marketing, what I would do is probably connect you with somebody within the business who would use your services at some point in the future and make that connection so that you can get specific detail on what is the business actually looking for. What are some challenges that they're having? What are some things that the vendor may be able to provide as a solution? Maybe it's something unique or different or something that the business didn't think about. So just making that connection early is actually better, in the long run, because if we're getting ready to launch an RFP and nobody at Bank of America has ever heard of you, it's going to be really difficult to win that business. So getting in early, having those conversations, meeting the people within the bank who run the business, so on and so forth, and having some level of relationship once the RFP starts puts you in a much better position. So that's not a bad thing. In my opinion, it's actually better if it works out that way.
And so do you suggest like an email intro and then maybe that personal touch at conference, and that can lead into that relationship building?
Yeah. And when we're at the matchmaker meeting, that's something that we can figure out, what are the next steps. But typically I'd like to, send the person an email first just to make that warm introduction before, a potential vendor would reach out to somebody within the business. So, kind of make that warm handoff and then, let them have their conversation, and then, I'll give the vendor, an idea of, these contracts are up, in the first quarter of 2016. So, maybe check back in, in January or something like that.
Perfect. I have a few suppliers asking about how to register in the system. So as soon as you register for a conference, I pull a weekly list and then send our suppliers specific information on how to register for Matchmakers with a passcode that's included to access the system. So if you've registered for conference and haven't received that email, follow up with me. My email's right there, nrojas@nglcc.org, and I'll help get you that information. And if it's a technical side, I can connect you with My Business Matches as well. just to answer those questions. I have some other questions about LGBTBEs who want to make specific asks and requests for meetings with buyers that they aren't matched with. And the way that we designed our Matchmaker system and what Joshua and Mo are speaking to is that we really want to make the best matches for both sides. And so depending on what our corporate partners are looking for and what they're coming into it, we really want to give that control to those matches to make it so that those conversations are the most meaningful that 15 minutes can hold. And there's so many different aspects of conference where you can get that in-person touch with a corporate partner that you're interested in. You know, as I mentioned, the expo is an excellent time for you to go in. You know that you wanted to target Bank of America and you didn't get a match with them, and that might be because they have these 3 opportunities coming up and they really wanted to make those 15-minute meetings on that opportunity. Well, they might have a table at the expo and have staff available for you just walking up, making that intro and having that conversation at that time. We also have, morning walk-in talks where it's a more informal meeting, but our corporate partners come, participate, and it's another time for you to discuss your business and discuss that corporation. And there's always us staff, NGLCC staff at the conference who can make that introduction. You come up to me, Natalie, I really wanted to meet Joshua. I didn't meet with him, and I will happily introduce you to and to have that conversation at one of our many receptions or other plenary areas where we have that information. So I can't reiterate that enough, and please email me if you do have any follow-up or any questions about that. But that's kind of our take and theory in the Matchmakers, and we really do try to make them meaningful for both sides, and we're constantly tweaking and changing that system to make sure that that's the case. So that's all the questions that we've had from our LGBTBEs. I want to thank you both for being on this call and all the LGBTBEs that are participating and wanting to prepare for these. If you do have any follow-up, please reach out to me. I'll happily connect you with someone who can answer your question. And we're really looking forward to it. There'll be more information and webinar content to help prepare you for conference. And this is just one aspect, and we know it is an important aspect, and hopefully this will help you get a time frame on what to do and how to best prepare for Matchmakers. Is there any other words you'd like to add, Joshua and Mo?
Just thank you. Yeah, any way I can help, just let me know. Again, just want to make sure there's a success for everyone.
Yep. Same here. Thanks, Natalie.
Okay. We'll have this recorded and out on the web. Everyone's exiting, so.
Bye.